Hello, welcome again to MelosStoryz. Okay, know this, some people are born brilliant. They pass every test, win every competition, and move through life like success was written in their destiny. But then there are other people who try and try and try again, yet failure follows them everywhere. Tonight's story is about a girl who failed every exam she ever wrote, from nursery school all the way to university. But what makes her story unforgettable is not the failure. It's what happened after she finally passed. Listen carefully, because sometimes the hardest battles in life are the ones no one else can see. Today I want to tell you a story that kicks off with a massive celebration, but it ends with a question that might just change how you think about success itself. This is the story of the girl who never passed. So let's start at the end of a very, very long road. This is a moment of pure triumph. You know, the kind you feel like you've waited your entire life for. I mean, can you imagine, for the first time in her life, after who knows how many exams and years of seeing her name at the bottom of every list, there it was, on the graduation list. She had actually passed. The relief, the sheer joy, it must have been just overwhelming. And why wouldn't she, right? Graduation day must have felt like absolute freedom. Her laughter was probably all over campus, friends snapping pictures, everyone dancing. She was the heart of the party, soaking in a victory that everyone knew she had fought so hard for. And later that night, as things were winding down, she turns to her friends and says, "Finally, I can rest." And they all just nodded along thinking, yeah, of course, you've earned a break from all that studying. They had no idea she meant something completely different. And this is where the story just takes this completely unexpected, tragic turn. Just a few weeks after the biggest win of her life, she went to bed, perfectly happy, healthy, excited for the future, and she was just gone. The shock was just immense. I mean, the doctors were completely baffled. Her body was perfectly fine. There was no medical reason for her death. It was a total mystery. To even begin to understand what could have happened, we've got to go all the way back to the beginning. Okay, so let's rewind the tape and look at the first part of her story. This constant academic struggle that really defined so much of her life, and maybe, just maybe, holds a clue to this whole mystery. You know what's so wild is how consistent her struggle was. This wasn't just a tough subject or a bad year. From the very beginning, school was a battle. Nursery, primary, secondary school, it was always the same. And when she got to university, that failure became, as our source puts it, like a shadow. Just think about that for a second. Year after year, you're watching your friends move on, you're celebrating their own graduations, then new students come in, all full of hope, and eventually they leave too. But you're still there, stuck, fighting that same old battle. So you're probably wondering, how did she finally graduate? Well, it was a little unconventional. The university basically recognized that her journey wasn't about being brilliant, it was about this unbelievable sheer grit. They didn't pass her for her grades, they passed her for her spirit, for just enduring all those years and never ever giving up. But see, that's only one side of her. And it's the other side, the person behind all those test scores, that's the part that really truly matters. And this is the great paradox of her life, right? On paper, you'd look at her and say she was a failure. But in person, she was a massive success. The student who couldn't seem to pass a single test was also the friend that everybody absolutely cherished. How do you square those two things? Because her real value was never something you could measure in a gradebook. Her real tests were in human connection. She was the one who always noticed when someone was having a bad day. She was the one who made people feel like they belonged. She was basically the glue holding her friend group together. And you know what? She passed every single one of those tests with flying colors. All of this builds to this one single powerful moment at her funeral, a moment that gives us a pretty surprising answer to that mystery we started with. So picture it. The funeral is packed, of course, with everyone who loved her. And in the crowd is one of her old lecturers. He's just standing there quietly watching. And then he leans in close and says something that nobody else was really meant to hear. He whispered, "Maybe she finished the exam she came here to write." And just like that, everything clicks. What if her whole purpose wasn't about passing university exams? What if her life was a totally different kind of test? And those final words of hers, "Finally, I can rest," suddenly they mean so much more. Maybe her work here was really and truly done. So what are we supposed to take away from all this? It really makes you stop and question how we even define success and failure in the first place. Think about it. We all know people like this. The straight-A students, the high achievers, they just ace every exam, they collect all the degrees, they build these amazing careers. And yet, sometimes, in that race to the top, the human part gets lost. Maybe they struggle with empathy or compassion or just being there for someone. They end up failing a test that doesn't get graded on paper. Our girl was the total opposite. She failed every single academic test that was put in front of her year after year after year. But she passed the test of being a good human being, the test of making people feel loved and seen, the test of leaving the world just a little bit warmer than how she found it. And maybe, just maybe, that's the only test that really matters in the end. And that's really the heart of this whole story. It's such a powerful reminder to look past the grades, the job titles, the trophies. The true measure of a life might just be in those quiet acts of kindness that keep echoing long after we're gone. So I'll leave you with this. What's the most important test you're trying to pass? She struggled her entire life. Every classroom reminded her she was different. Every exam reminded her she was behind. Yet she never became bitter. She laughed. She loved people. She made others happy, even while carrying her own quiet pain. And when life finally gave her the victory she had waited years for, she celebrated. Then she slept and never woke up again. Doctors could not explain it. Friends could not understand it. But maybe, just maybe, her journey here was never about passing exams. Maybe her real purpose was something simpler, to remind the world that kindness is a form of success too. Because long after grades are forgotten, the way you treat people is what truly remains.